So if you are spending, like $90 a bag on this Wolf Ancestor strictly grain-free kibble because you think it's going to like optimize your dog's health and extend their life, well, the latest veterinary science suggests you might actually be doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, you really might be.
Right. Today, we are stripping away all that pet aisle marketing noise, and we're looking at the raw biological reality of, what is actually in your dog's bowl.
Which is so important because, honestly, it is arguably one of the most misunderstood topics in pet ownership. I mean, we have these massive marketing budgets pushing essentially human dietary anxieties on animals.
Oh, totally.
Animals with completely different digestive systems. You obviously want the best for your dog, but trying to decipher the actual science from a literal sales pitch has become, well, a total nightmare for the average owner.
This really has. It's a complete nightmare. And to ground this, the source material gives us this perfect case study. Meet Sandra.
Ah, yes. Sandra and Pepper.
Right, so Sandra has this 4-year-old border collie mix named Pepper. And by all accounts, Pepper is thriving. I mean, she's active, her coat looks great, she catches frisbees like an absolute pro.
Sounds like a great dog.
She is.
Yeah.
But Sandra is a deeply conscientious owner, so she decides, she needs to optimize Pepper's diet. So she goes down the internet rabbit hole.
Oh, no. That is a dangerous, endless rabbit hole to fall into.
It's the worst. Sandra reads this blog insisting that if you aren't feeding your dog a raw meat diet, you're essentially poisoning them with processed junk.
Which is terrifying for an owner to read.
Right. But then literally 2 clicks later, she finds a veterinary journal warning about the severe bacterial risks, like salmonella and listeria.
Right, and those raw diet risks apply not just to the dog, but to the humans handling the food in the kitchen.
Exactly. So then she pivots. She looks at dry food and reads that protein percentages are like everything. The higher the number, the better the food. But then a counter-argument pops up saying boutique, high-protein, grain-free diets might be linked to like fatal heart conditions. So by 2:08 a.m., Sandra is just staring at Pepper's current bowl of food, completely paralyzed with guilt.
Which is such a common endpoint, But
Yeah.
what makes Sandra's story the perfect starting point for us is how it actually resolves.
Yeah, tell us how she gets out of it.
Well, she finally takes all of this anxiety and all these conflicting internet printouts straight to her vet. And the vet doesn't sell her a new bag of food.
Right.
The vet physically examines Pepper and says, look, she has great muscle tone. Her heart sounds perfect. She is at an ideal weight.
Basically a clean bill of health.
Exactly. The vet tells her, whatever you are doing is currently working perfectly for her biological machinery. Let's not fix what isn't broken.
Man, just a total reality check. Okay, let's unpack this. The goal of our deep dive today is to basically do for you what that vet did for Sandra.
Just cut right through the noise.
Exactly. We're going to ignore the packaging with the majestic wolves howling at the moon, and we're going to look strictly at the mechanisms of canine biology.
I love that.
But just as a baseline, while we are building a heavily researched, science-based educational framework today, this deep dive is never a substitute for the specific tailored advice of your licensed veterinarian.
Precisely. Because, at the end of the day, every dog is an individual biological system. But to understand that system, we really have to stop treating dogs like they're just, furry little humans with a gym membership.
Furry little humans, that's so true, though.
Right. Our nutritional needs and the way our bodies process fuel are just fundamentally different.
Okay, let's start right there with the actual building blocks. The sources agree that dogs need 6 essential nutrient categories, right? Protein, fat, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and water.
Correct. Those are the big 6.
But I want to zero in on protein first, because I look at a bag of dog food, and the guaranteed analysis says like 30% protein. Another bag says 25%. My human brain, conditioned by our fitness culture, immediately thinks the 30% bag is a more premium, healthier product. Why is that assumption flawed?
Well, because it completely ignores biological value and bioavailability. It's not just about the total volume of protein. It's about the specific amino acids making up that protein.
Okay, explain that.
Sure. Think of protein synthesis in a dog's body like a game of Scrabble.
Okay, I'm with you. A game of Scrabble.
The dog's body constantly needs to spell out words, metaphorically speaking, like muscle tissue or immune cell or digestive enzyme.
Got it.
To spell those words, they need a very specific set of letter tiles, and those tiles are the amino acids.
Well, that makes sense.
Right. So when you feed a dog high-quality animal protein, like chicken or beef, you are handing their body a Scrabble box that contains the exact alphabet they need in the right proportions.
The perfect mix of letters.
Exactly. But if a boutique brand inflates their total protein percentage by, say, dumping in a ton of cheap plant-based proteins, they might be handing the dog a Scrabble box missing the letter E or A.
So the bag might legally boast a super high protein percentage, but biologically, the dog can't actually use a lot of it to build what they need to build.
Exactly, they just can't use it. And the other issue is the excess itself. I mean, if you pump a relatively sedentary house dog full of a massive amount of protein, they don't magically sprout extra muscle.
Right, they're not hitting the bench press.
No, they're napping on the couch. So the body has to break down all that unused protein. It converts the excess nitrogen into urea, and then it has to filter it out through the kidneys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you aren't making them healthier. You are literally just giving their internal organs a heavier workload for absolutely no reason.
Which perfectly illustrates why projecting our human diet culture onto them is so dangerous. And if there's one nutrient humans project their baggage onto more than protein, it's got to be fat.
Oh, absolutely.
We spend decades hunting for low-fat grocery options, so we instinctively flinch at high-fat dog food.
What's fascinating here is dogs evolved to use fat as their primary, most premium fuel source.
Really? Their primary source?
Yes. While human athletes, carbo load before a marathon, a sled dog running the Iditarod is fueled almost entirely by fat oxidation.
That is wild.
It is. Their muscles are literally wired to burn fat for energy far more efficiently than ours ever could.
Wait, really? So if I eat a heavily marbled steak, I'm worrying about cholesterol and my arteries clogging up, but a dog's cardiovascular system handles that completely differently.
Vastly differently. They don't suffer from atherosclerosis, clogged arteries the way humans do. Fat is not the enemy for them.
Okay, good to know.
And beyond just providing dense energy, dietary fats provide essential omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And those aren't just for a shiny coat either.
Right. People always say it's for the coat.
It helps the coat, sure, but at a cellular level, those omegas are actively managing the body's inflammatory response. They maintain the integrity of the skin barrier, which keeps environmental allergens out.
Oh, so it's like a shield.
Precisely. If you restrict fat because of human diet trends, you end up with a lethargic dog with flaky skin and chronic itching.
All right, so if proteins are the building blocks and fats are the premium fuel, that brings us to the absolute most controversial topic in the pet food aisle.
I know exactly where you're going. Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates. Sandra got completely lost in the grain-free marketing explosion. And honestly, I have to admit, I get the appeal. You look at a dog's mouth, those are wolf teeth.
They definitely look like it.
They're sharp, they're designed for tearing meat, crushing bone. They don't have the flat molars for grinding wheat like a cow does. So how on earth is their digestive tract supposed to handle a bowl full of grains?
See, that is the exact intuitive leap the marketing departments rely on. But it ignores a massive evolutionary reality.
Which is...
Dogs are not wolves, and they are not obligate carnivores like cats.
Right, cats have to eat meat.
Exactly. Cats literally must consume meat to survive. Dogs, on the other hand, are remarkably adaptable scavengers, and the biological proof of that is right in their DNA.
Oh, wow. In their DNA.
Yes. During the thousands of years dogs spent domesticating themselves around human agricultural settlements, they actually evolved a specific genetic mutation.
They mutated to eat our leftovers, like bread and scraps.
Exactly. It's called the AMY2B gene. This gene produces amylase, which is an enzyme specifically designed to break down starch and carbohydrates.
Okay, so wolves don't have this.
Wolves have maybe 2 copies of this gene. Modern domestic dogs, they can have up to 30 copies.
30.
Yes, they are literally genetically programmed to digest and utilize grains. Carbohydrates provide them with rapid energy and essential dietary fiber that feeds their gut microbiome.
So the whole narrative that grains are cheap, unnatural filler is just brilliant marketing.
It is a complete fabrication. True, documented grain allergies in dogs are exceptionally rare.
Really? Because everyone says their dog is allergic to grain.
I know. But if a dog has a food allergy, it is almost always a reaction to a specific animal protein, like beef or dairy, not the rice or the oats in the food.
But the sources point out something even more alarming here. The grain-free trend isn't just a harmless waste of money. It might actually be dangerous.
Very dangerous, yes.
There's all this ongoing research into a spike of dilated cardiomyopathy, DCM, which is a severe heart disease. in dogs that are eating boutique, grain-free diets.
Yes, and the mechanism researchers are looking at is crucial. When boutique brands took out the grains to satisfy this marketing trends, they had to replace them with something to, bind the kibble together.
Right, you need some kind of starch.
Exactly. So they used high amounts of pulses, things like peas, lentils, chickpeas. The current working theory is that these high concentrations of legumes might be interfering with the dog's ability to synthesize or absorb taurine.
And taurine is an amino acid, right?
Yes, an amino acid that is absolutely critical for heart muscle function.
Man, that is a staggering realization. Owners are paying top dollar, thinking they are buying the ultimate ancestral health food, and the lack of grains might literally be starving their dog's heart of a vital nutrient.
It's tragic, which really underscores the ultimate rule of dog nutrition. You follow peer-reviewed veterinary science, not the trendy buzzwords on the packaging.
Okay, let's look at the remaining biological pillars. Vitamins, minerals, and water. This is where I see the whole DIY, home-cooked dog food trend totally falling apart.
Oh, absolutely. It falls apart fast.
Because, throwing some boiled chicken and rice in a bowl feels incredibly wholesome, but the sources make it clear that balancing the micronutrients is basically high-level biochemistry.
It is incredibly complex. Let's just look at calcium and phosphorus, for instance.
Okay.
In a balanced commercial diet, those two minerals are formulated in a highly specific ratio. If you are just eyeballing a home-cooked meal without a board-certified veterinary nutritionist, you will almost certainly get that ratio wrong.
And what actually happens inside the dog's body if that ratio is off? Like, let's say I mess it up.
Well, if the diet is deficient in calcium or has too much phosphorus, the dog's body essentially panics because it needs calcium in the bloodstream just for the heart to beat and nerves to fire.
Right, vital function.
Exactly. So to maintain that blood level, the parathyroid gland triggers a process that literally leaches calcium out of the dog's own skeleton.
Oh, wow. It steals from the bones.
Yes. Over time, their bones demineralize, leading to microfractures, skeletal deformities, and severe pain. Commercial diets, for all the criticism they get, are precisely engineered to prevent those hidden, devastating imbalances.
And we can't skip water. It's technically a nutrient, and the mechanics of dehydration are brutal. Yeah. It affects kidney function, blood volume.
It affects everything, really.
Yeah. And if your dog isn't a big drinker, the sources note that simply swapping some dry kibble for wet food is a brilliant way to stealthily increase their hydration, right? Since wet food is about 75% water.
It's a very simple, highly effective intervention, especially for older dogs.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Once we understand how these nutrients function, we have to look at the dosing. Because a dog's nutritional requirements are not static.
Not at all.
The whole one-size-fits-all, all life stages food is a concept that the sources strongly push back against.
Yeah, life stage is the ultimate filter. Let's look at puppies, for example. A puppy's metabolism is running incredibly hot. They are building nervous systems, expanding organ capacity, and growing bone mass at an astonishing rate.
But the sources point out a massive divergence here based on breed size. I always assumed, a puppy is a puppy. But you cannot feed a Great Dane puppy the same formula you feed a Chihuahua puppy. Why is that?
It comes back to the mechanisms of skeletal growth we were just talking about. A Chihuahua puppy reaches its adult size very quickly.
Right, in a matter of months.
Exactly. But a Great Dane puppy has an enormous amount of skeletal growth to achieve, and they actually need to do it slowly.
Oh, slowly. I would have thought they need to grow fast.
That's the misconception. If you give a large breed puppy a standard high-energy puppy food with high levels of calcium, their bones grow way too rapidly. The skeletal frame actually matures faster than the surrounding muscles, tendons, and cartilage can support.
Wow. So the structure literally outpaces the support system.
Exactly. And this leads to conditions like osteochondrosis, where the cartilage in the joints literally fails and collapses under the dog's own rapidly increasing weight.
That sounds incredibly painful.
It is. That's why large breed puppy formulas are specifically engineered with lower calcium and controlled caloric density. It intentionally slows down that bone growth so the soft tissues can keep up.
That perfectly illustrates why precision matters. So then they hit adulthood. You transition to a maintenance formula. But even then, a working border collie running sheep all day needs a vastly different caloric intake than a bulldog living in a third-floor apartment.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are feeding the metabolism in front of you. And that metabolism inevitably changes as they enter their senior years.
Right, the engine slows down. They need fewer calories because they are sleeping more. But it's not just about weight management, is it? It's about aging organs.
Precisely. For example, as a dog ages, the nephrons in their kidneys naturally begin to lose efficiency. High levels of dietary phosphorus require the kidneys to work very hard to filter the blood.
Okay.
So a high-quality senior diet will intentionally restrict phosphorus levels to reduce the mechanical workload on those aging kidneys, which literally extends their functional lifespan.
Oh, just by tweaking the food.
Yes, and senior diets might also incorporate joint-supporting compounds like glucosamine to help maintain degrading cartilage.
All right, so we've established the biochemistry and we understand the age factors. But let's bring this into the actual kitchen. How do we execute this day to day? Because the sources are very clear. The biggest nutritional threat to most dogs isn't a lack of wolf ancestor ingredients, it's overfeeding.
Yep. The food is love psychology is a very powerful driver. We give treats to show affection, but obesity is an absolute epidemic in pets right now.
It really is.
And we have to stop looking at extra fat as just dead weight the dog has to carry around. Adipose tissue, fat is biologically active.
Wait, what does that mean? Fat is active.
Yes. Adipose tissue actually acts like an endocrine organ. It constantly pumps out inflammatory hormones called adipokines directly into the dog's bloodstream.
Seriously?
Yeah. So an overweight dog isn't just dealing with the mechanical stress of extra pounds crushing their joints. Their body is literally bathing those joints in inflammatory chemicals that actively degrade the cartilage. Obesity is essentially a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation.
That completely changes how I view an extra 2 pounds on a small dog.
Yes.
So, how do we ensure we aren't overfeeding? Because the suggested serving sizes on the back of the bag seem wildly broad.
They're broad averages, and they don't account for your dog's specific metabolic rate. You really have to ignore the bag and learn how to assess body condition score.
Okay, body condition score. What exactly are we looking for?
It's a tactile visual checklist. First, look at your dog from directly above. You should clearly see a waistline tucked in behind their rib cage, kind of like an hourglass.
Okay, an hourglass shape from above.
Second, run your hands flat along their sides. You should be able to feel the ribs easily without having to press through a thick layer of squishy fat, but the ribs shouldn't be visibly jutting out.
Got it. Feel, don't see.
Exactly. And finally, from a profile view, their abdomen should visibly tuck upwards toward their hind legs. If they look like a solid cylinder from above or their belly hangs straight down, you are overfeeding them, regardless of what the bag recommends.
That is such a practical tool. Now, what about when we supplement that kibble? The treats and the table scraps?
Treats.
The definitive rule from the sources is that treats should never exceed 10% of their daily caloric intake.
Yeah.
But we also have to talk about the absolute do not share list.
Yes, the toxic foods, very important.
Right. There are human foods that are completely benign to us, but mechanistically toxic to them, like grapes and raisins causing rapid kidney failure or macadamia nuts causing neurological tremors. But the one that absolutely terrified me in the sources was xylitol.
Xylitol is insidious because it's an artificial sweetener hidden in hundreds of sugar-free products. Gum, peanut butter, baked goods.
Why is a piece of sugar-free gum totally fine for me, but potentially lethal for Pepper?
It's a species-specific mechanism. In humans, xylitol absorbs slowly and doesn't affect our insulin at all.
Okay.
But when a dog ingests xylitol, it absorbs rapidly into their bloodstream. Their pancreas misinterprets this artificial sweetener as a massive influx of real sugar.
Oh, no.
In a panic, the dog's body dumps a massive amount of insulin into the blood. That insulin immediately pulls all the actual glucose out of their bloodstream, causing a profound and sudden hypoglycemic crash.
Wow.
Their blood sugar drops to fatal levels, causing seizures, liver failure, and death, and sometimes within an hour.
That is terrifying. The rule is simple. Human food stays on human plates, period.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean when it's time to actually change what goes in their bowl? Say Sandra realizes she needs to switch Pepper from the boutique brand back to a science-backed formula. You can't just pour the new food on a Tuesday morning and expect everything to be fine.
Never do a sudden switch. A dog's gut microbiome is a highly adapted ecosystem. The populations of bacteria in their digestive tract have customized themselves to break down the specific proteins and carbohydrates in their current food.
So they're used to the old stuff.
Exactly. If you suddenly dump a completely novel protein or fiber source into that environment, the existing bacteria just can't process it. It draws excess water into the intestines, resulting in sudden osmotic diarrhea and vomiting.
Total gastrointestinal shock.
Exactly. You have to give the bacterial populations time to shift. You do this by transitioning the food over a 7 to 10-day period.
Like mixing it together.
Yes. Mix 25% of the new food with 75% of the old food for a few days. Then go 50-50, then 75-25 until the microbiome is successfully adapted to the new diet.
Okay, let's bring all of this together. The ultimate mission of this deep dive was to empower you with biological facts. The next time you walk down that pet store aisle, you can completely ignore the marketing buzzwords. Words like holistic and ancestral are just designed to manipulate human purchasing psychology.
That's all there.
What actually matters is whether the amino acid profile, the fat content, and the micronutrient ratios align with your dog's specific life stage and body condition. And the absolute best algorithm for calculating that isn't on an internet forum, it's your veterinarian.
And, to make those vet visits exponentially more productive, the sources highlighted a fantastic digital tool, the VitalPet app.
Oh, right, the tracking app.
Yeah. When you rely on memory, it's easy to miss slow changes in your dog's health. By logging diet transitions, tracking exact weight fluctuations, and noting shifts in appetite, you walk into the clinic with actionable, organized data that allows your vet to practice highly targeted preventative medicine.
Speaking of preventative medicine, that perfectly tees up our next deep dive based on these sources. We are going to demystify routine veterinary blood work.
Oh, that's a great topic.
We'll explore the underlying mechanisms of why vets need to draw blood even when your dog appears, completely healthy, and what those confusing acronyms on the lab result actually tell us about their internal organs.
It is the natural next step. The diet affects the blood work, and the blood work dictates the diet.
It is a continuous biological loop.
It is. And as we wrap up today, I really want to return to that fundamental biological reality we established about the AMY2B gene.
The starch digesting one.
Right. Dogs evolved alongside us. They are not obligate carnivores. They are incredibly adaptable scavengers, perfectly capable of thriving on starches and plant-based proteins, provided the amino acid profiles are formulated correctly.
True.
This raises an important question. As human food systems and global supply chains face increasingly severe climate pressures and sustainability mandates, how much longer can the pet food industry sustain this marketing obsession with ancestral meat?
Oh, wow. Are we looking at a rapidly approaching future where highly engineered, nutritionally precise, heavily plant-based diets finally replace the wolf on the packaging as the new premium standard for our dogs?
That is a massive paradigm shift to think about. The next time you stare at that wall of options in the dog food aisle, look past the marketing and think about the brilliant, adaptable biology of the animal waiting for you at home. Until next time, keep digging deeper.